moment. I would like to address first of all the committee here, the President of the region, our Moroccan version of ENCG-MUN. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an utmost pleasure to stand before you and address you, and it's heartwarming to see such fine young people really trying to engage in promoting this country. And it is always a pleasure to be part of what is going on in my motherland. It's been over 2 decades since I left Morocco, but Morocco has always been in my heart and in my mind. And whatever I have done, I try to pay back my country. So while at this, I would love to add something to what Mr. Scott said earlier on regarding the Moroccans of the world. It is true that once you leave the country, you see things a lot clearer and a lot better than when you are in it. With that being said, we always try to bring back to our country what we learned overseas. In my case, I've been in England before I moved to the United States, so pretty much I learned both the experiences of the two parts, and it's very enriching. Now, how far Morocco and the region, or the proposal of establishing and extending regionalism in Morocco, is willing to involve the Moroccans of the world in promoting regionalism and in promoting, let's say, democracy, and engaging the locals in running their local affairs. That is something which is really serious, because back to the Moroccan Constitution, there are 3 articles, if I remember them well, the 24th, 26th, and the 27th, which stress that Moroccans of the world are just like any other Moroccan residing in the motherland. So as of this moment as I speak, sadly enough, we're still not having our rights to vote, to represent ourselves in the parliament, in regions, locally, regionally, and nationally. Needless to say, we have absolutely no chance to represent Morocco overseas. So anyway, I do apologize for this lengthy introduction, but it's something that is worth bringing to your attention. This is the second time actually I stand before an audience in my motherland in Morocco. Last year I was invited to speak before young French politicians, originally from Morocco, who came to Rabat, and they were wondering how they can work for Morocco from their positions in France. And this is the second time. And quite frankly, to see young people, really I was not expecting it. And I really command you all to engage. Politics is not that monster. When we were kids, they told us that stay away from politics. Politics is everything we do. From the minute you wake up in the morning till you go to bed, you're involved in politics. You buy chewing gum, there are politics in there. You buy a car, you buy a house, anything, hairdresser, makeup for ladies, there are politics. So don't get afraid of it, just engage. So I was requested by my good friend Yusuf to talk about regionalism. Although my area of expertise is mainly counterterrorism, counterintelligence, and strategic affairs, but regionalism as a model to be introduced in Morocco is very crucial to establishing and sustaining security and stability in the country. So, with that being said, I prefer usually when I give a presentation in such a matter to make it concise and to read it rather than just correct it. Now, what is regionalism? So probably it is the most important aspect of political economy. So as many of you here might already know, regionalism is a linguistic feature, peculiar to a particular region and not part of the standard language of a country, which is the theory of practice of regional rather than central systems of administration, economic, cultural, political, or political affiliations. So in other words, the main purpose of implementing regionalism system is to make an end to the hegemony of central government over local affairs. And the locals rule and govern themselves. As tricky as it sounds, this is regionalism. How can we establish it? It's going to be a long journey. I mean, let's face it. I mean, those who know me, maybe misuse of I don't sugarcoat stuff. as an analyst, it's my duty and my job towards my country and my fellow intellectual to give you the truth and expose it as it is, because that's the first step to actually begin concrete work to establish institutions. So, as it stands, the Kingdom of Morocco is marching on the right path to establish its rational proposal to extend the regionalism as a political solution, to give more powers to Moroccans through self-governing and managing their local and regional affairs via electing their own regional representatives who will answer to the president of the region. And this is really important. So, all representatives regionally will answer to the president of the region. Shall we talk quite frankly? It's going to take decades before establishing it properly. The structure of our institutions in Morocco work around monarchy. So the king is always the head of the country. He's the head of the government. He's the head of the judicial system. So either we can extract some of his powers and give it to the presidents of the regions, or there might be some sort of formula that should be implemented to give them power and let the king just as a moral figure, like Great Britain. Are we as people ready and willing to accept monarchy as a historic figure? No, we don't, because probably it is the only institution, and I say the only institution, that can guarantee security and stability in a multi-layered society like ours. So, with that being said, we should never neglect that there is some sort of fanaticism when it comes to regions. I mean, this is the basic truth that we should all accept, because regionalism is giving powers to locals. Now, do we have that harmony within one region and cross regions as well, that can all work and collaborate for what's going to benefit the national system? So that's a big question mark that I'm pretty sure politicians in Morocco will address it quite rationally and pragmatically. So such a strategic political structure requires strong foundations upon which it will ensure delivery. What is expected of it? It is obvious that development is an essential pillar for strengthening the process of decentralization, which is an essential mechanism in promoting the development role of local government. So pretty much what I just explained. It is, however, worth mentioning here that, politically speaking, there are three types of regionalism, and though the typology of the latter, regionalism, is an overlapping concept, basically, often a state is widely accepted as a unit for evolving these types of regionalism. So with that being said, the three main types of regionalism may be conceived on that basis. So the first type, shall we call it, well, not we, politicians basically, the suprastate regionalism, which is an expression of a group identity of several states. In this type of regionalism, states collaborate and put their efforts together to tackle issues of mutual interest. Pan-Arabism, for example, is one of these types, but it never happened. It never happened. I mean, cross-cultural conflicts between nations will always be a burden to establish this suprastate regionalism. Jamal Abdel Nasser tried it, but in vain, so he tried. So the second type of regionalism can be referred to as the interstate regionalism, which means that territories can share the same border and terminus with neighboring provinces. This type of regionalism involves juxtaposing the identities of one or more states against another. This mainly we find in Africa. You find nations of pretty much similar heritage, similar culture, different languages, but they will never live in harmony. We have to see Rwanda as a prime example, which lives in deadly war. The third type of regionalism is called the intrastate regionalism, in which a part or parts states pursue establishing the self-identity and self-development. This is the positive aspect of this type. However, on the other hand, this might lead to a negative aspect as it might militate against the general and national interests of the state as well as the nation. Here, plenty of examples. I mean, we can look at our neighbor Spain, we can look at France, we can exclude the Great Britain, but Latin America, that's another example. Regionalism basically, and mainly, is built around as an expression of group identity as well as loyalty to the region. Here is very tricky. So we're going to go back to Morocco. Regionalism heads towards showing loyalty to the region. How about the general authority of the political central government? So if I'm going to show my loyalty to the region, that means the central government will be losing my allegiance. So we're going to go back. Are we going to work around the central government with just regionalism? Because extended regionalism can lead to a very deadly outcome. And we have Java Timor in India as a prime example. So if we look back at history, we can learn a lot how deadly regionalism can affect any nation. Now, the million-dollar question, as we say, are there any success stories of a well-structured and wisely implemented regionalism system in the world? We might often come across mixed answers to this question. Some might use the model of the European Union as a large entity, or that of many European countries individually. What we need here is a proper use of the comparative method to extract what would be beneficial to the Moroccan vision in advancing its intrastate, because that's the only and the sole model that Morocco should consider. The intrastate regionalism. The first two is basically not applicable. Our society will never accept that. Which will be the foundation of a wider concept of the extended regionalism. Some European models were effective, and the proper introduction of the concept of self-governance proved to be fruitful and delivered what was expected of it. Germany and Great Britain are prime examples. I mean, Germany to Bavaria is very fast. Bavarians would have a huge loyalty to the local governments, however, Germans would like all one another. So it doesn't make really the fact that's all the way up north of Munich, which is south. Germany is in Germany. Again, Britain as diverse as the south, so you've got the Scots, you've got the Welsh, you've got the Irish, and then you've got the English. When it comes to the British national interest, the odd with mine. And the prime example, when Gibraltar actually declined its separation from the Union, when the Scots gratefully declined forming their government, they worked for the general interest of the United Kingdom. Right. So, however, in Spain and France, regionalism is very fragile compared to other nations, especially those regions like Normandy, Catalonia, Corsica, and Basques, threaten repeatedly to denounce their allegiance to their central governments and from their independent nation states. This is, again, really crucial. Now, when the president of the region mentioned early on that one of the reasons Morocco is trying to implement such a political system is to work with the United Nations and with international world to end the long-lasting conflict which is 40 years today in the Southern Territories, and I call them Southern Territories. I don't call it Sahara, I don't call it Reef. To me, it's mine. It's ours. It's like the status of Puerto Rico for the United States. It's mine. Dare to touch it. Sahara is ours. Dare to touch it. So it is really important to implement fairness in dealing with different regions in Morocco. So we cannot favor one region over the other. Now, when we look at Spain and you see that Catalonia is favored since early 80s and up to date What is the outcome? Qatar now is threatening to separate from Spain. So that is very deadly, aspect that the central government can actually pursue in dealing with regionalisms. Now, the model of regionalism is introduced in Europe is the search for a criterion of political and institutional entity that could replace the nation-states concept. The theoretical and the practical advancements and developments of integration in Europe occurred adaptively in response to the devastating two world wars, which was quite obvious. Such events emphasize the dilemma of how nation-states view and envision the concept of their system of sovereign nation-states, given their inclination to lead to clashes between neighboring countries. So looking at some of the Latin America, we quickly notice that the whole concept of regionalism was to see of the possible alleged threats by the United States and Europe to wash out the native and local identity or identity, which is basically similar to what Jonathan was trying to implement in the Arab world through the Arabism, which never worked. It didn't work for Arabs, it didn't work for Latin America either. So therefore, regionalism was viewed as a shield and a means to sustain and strengthen the sovereignty of Latin American states. Ultimately, those countries are struggling to make the project of regionalism a success. The reason being is the failure to provide the proper mechanisms upon which such a model would work and deliver to the nation states. So as previously mentioned, the Kingdom of Morocco is promoting globally its rational proposal to produce the concept of extended regionalism. Such a concept will be facing many burdens in theory and even on the ground. So the nature of the Moroccan political system involved entirely, and to a certain extent, partially, around the royal institution, which is regarded as the sole guardian of the Moroccan sovereignty and unity. So Morocco has always been a melting pot for many ethnic, racial, and religious groups. So we have lived alongside each other for thousands of years, I must say. There are obviously certain constraints that should be addressed and tackled beforehand to ensure that the project will not fail. Now, based on the King's speech back from January 2010, and during his nomination of the Council Committee to oversee the preparation of the extended regionalism, the King stressed four major elements as guidelines for the project. So, unity, solidarity, balance, and pursuit of broader concentration. Now, you see here, the King has a vision, and this vision should be implemented properly. So the unity, so we should never forget that we are one nation. So there is no difference between Berber, between Arab, between Farsi, between Persian, between Sahrawi or Rifi. No, there's only one Morocco and only one nation, Morocco. And the solidarity which falls under the unity and the balance. When we talk about balance, is how the wealth will be spread between regions. So we cannot favor the region of Barriga, and then we totally neglect Teza and Dukhan. So it's just going to create chaos. It's just going to create some discomfort, within people. Ultimately, you might even ask for independence. So it's very tricky, this issue of how we can implement the true aspects of regionalism. So a quick glance at the political social structure of Morocco, I can confirm that the journey will not be short and easy to accomplish what the Moroccan monarch has set for the projects and bring his vision to reality. So serious, transparent, and concrete efforts have to be exercised by all components of the political, social, and economic apparatus in the society. The layers of the society are so eager to engage in a capacity, and I see that here today, to be part of the development of the country. But on the other hand, political parties and associations of the civil society ought to be taken, or to be keen, to involve them in all and ditch some policies that will hold both them and the projects back. Neglecting elements like education, political participation, and the involvement of citizens will not lead to positive outcomes. A citizen should learn and understand how important he or she is to the economy and politics of the region, and through that to the country.
keeping the door shut in their faces, we create an elite group of oligarchs who will ultimately seize control over the local affairs. We cannot by no means eliminate the major components of any projects which are humans. Basically, this is a huge subject. I can keep talking for days about it, but I'm going to make it very, very short. Stop it right here. I thank you all for your attention, and it was my pleasure to stand before you today, and I hope that I didn't bore you with my presentation. Thank you.